Hello and welcome to your Grow Groups this week. My name is Jessica and I'm the director of Grow Groups, and it is so good to be with you this third week of our series, Where is the Joy? I hope already you've checked in with your group, talked about prayer concerns, what's been going on, sharing some things that bring joy in your life. If you haven't done so yet, go ahead and pause and do that. But in the meantime, we're going to continue this conversation today about how we find joy when we are hurt. So I'm joined by our lead pastor, Evie Martin.
Hello, everyone.
Evie, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm doing okay. It's really cold today.
It's so cold.
It might not be on the day that these groups meet, but today is very cold.
Absolutely. Well, we were so spoiled this fall.
Yeah.
I think that's what happened. There was no small step into it.
No, it was 70 degrees on Christmas Eve.
Yes. And now we feel like real pain in our fingertips when we open our car doors. All right, so I was going to start with kind of a fun one. So what is a small activity or thing that brings you joy?
There are quite a few. The one that I was thinking about for this question is cooking. I'm not a great cook, but I'm fine. Like, I can feed people and the food's not terrible. But I really like cooking for other people, and there's a couple ways that I like that. One is like when you plan out the whole meal. Like, you're gonna have other people over, you've got the salad, the appetizer, the entree, dessert, like you have the whole thing mapped out, you've got all the ingredients, and it's just sort of this feast. I really love doing that and sharing that for others to enjoy. But I also take joy in kind of like the day-to-day craziness of just trying to get food on the table for a family of four, and like, what do I have in the fridge? What can I make? And just sort of like the creative aspect of that, and in 30 minutes getting something on the table for people that's edible. There's joy in that too, like just that creative process, I think.
Yeah.
Brings me joy.
Like literally giving life to people.
Hopefully that's the end result.
Yeah, and I love it that it's a communal activity for you too. That's so cool. I just got an air fryer for Christmas. And so I've enjoyed cooking as well, but it's just me and the cat. So he doesn't get to share in it. Unless it's just like plain chicken, and then he's like, yes. But that's all he is.
That's good. That's good.
That's so great. Yeah, it's hard in these cold months when we're stuck inside to find joy, and so it is really cool to do that with food in that way. So this week we've been talking about pain, and pain can be relational, it can be physical, it can be emotional. So how do you find joy in the midst of physical or emotional pain?
That's a great question. And my personality type, I think a lot of us are this way as Americans. As humans, we try to avoid pain. Like, we don't want to be hurt. We don't like feeling hurt. And I resonate with that. So I do a lot to avoid feeling pain, even if I've been hurt, I can still kind of like, I don't know, disguise it or push it to the side. It's a challenge for me to deal with and kind of exist and live in pain, emotional or physical, not so much. Like, if you get hurt, you get hurt. And but I think moments when I've been in the midst of pain and have found joy have to do with laughter. There's sort of this, and if you've ever been in a hurtful conversation or a difficult conversation or a conversation around loss, there's this thing that happens. I'll use a funeral example. When I'm meeting with families talking about their loved one that they've just lost, there always comes this moment. There's tears and there's memories, but inevitably there comes a moment where someone makes a joke or someone has a funny memory and they laugh, and that moment of laughter it transforms the room for a second, and it diffuses some of that pain that we're all holding really tightly with laughter, and we can just sort of breathe for a moment. And so I think in other times when I'm feeling the pain or the hurt of something, just being intentional about laughing, finding a way to laugh, finding something that I think is funny, being with a person who makes me laugh. I think that's a way to just reclaim for those little moments, pieces of joy.
Absolutely. I think I think I just heard research about that.
Yeah.
Like even if you're forcing it in a room where they're like, ha, ha, he, like motions.
Making
like,
your body do that.
physically transform kind of what the chemistry in your brain is doing in that moment.
Wow.
But at the same time, I think there's the whole communal act you kind of talked about at a funeral, being together. Because I also have heard, I'm feeling like a science geek today. I think you're 30% more likely to laugh if you're with at least one other person.
Yeah.
And so, that ability to be together and find joy to just like laugh through
Right.
in like difficult moments.
Yeah. It connects you both in the pain and in the joy of it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think there's also some great, where I have found some joy is finding that community and sharing it too. Because I think I've always heard the phrase misery loves company is very much like angry people just want to be together.
Oh, yeah.
And like be hateful together.
Right.
But I think you can absolutely do the opposite of misery loves company, of bringing each other together and building one another up.
Misery needs company, right? Like we need it when we're miserable. Not to bring others down, but for them to bring us up.
Yeah, to lift us up. Ooh,
That's good.
maybe we're onto something.
I think so.
That's tweetable.
We should trademark that or something. I don't know. Copyright it.
Just became famous. It's really... So I'm curious then, as a pastor, but I know a lot of us can answer this too. What is a Bible story or character that you think about when you experience pain?
That was a really good question because I was like, when I'm in pain, do I think about people in the Bible? I'm not sure that was my first instinct, but it's a really great question because this is our story, right? As people of faith, this is our story. It's given to us for a purpose, and we're always invited to find ourselves in it. So I think it's a really wonderful question. The person that I thought of as I was reflecting on it, it's actually two people, are Ruth and Naomi.
Oh,
And I was thinking more about like emotional pain, more so than physical pain in this regard, but both of them have kind of had their livelihood, their life stripped away from them. Their family, their husbands have all died, and they're kind of left with each other. So there's a lot of loss, a lot of pain. They no longer have a homeland. Like they become refugees. They have to go, not refugees, but they have to go back to Naomi's homeland. So Ruth is like a foreigner in a strange land. So there's a lot of just emotional hurt and pain and loss there. So I think about them, and I think about sort of the strength. Naomi's grief is palpable in the text when you read that story. And Ruth is sort of the one who's like, okay, like, let's pick up and go. I'm with you in this. This is hard, but we're going to do it together. And we're going to put one foot in front of the other and make this journey together. So I appreciate both the reality and the vulnerability of these two women, but also the strength that they give one another and take from one another as they just sort of kind of take the next step to get through it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like their misery needed company.
Right. As if their misery needs a company.
Yeah, that's a good one. I hadn't even thought of Ruth and Naomi. I mean, Job always comes to mind, I feel like, just naturally, because Job went through all the things.
He did.
And lamented out loud like he had every right to. Jesus obviously went through some pain. But I was thinking about Moses because, so the whole Moses thing, like we talk about, we've got the desert imagery going on anyways. Like Moses was in the desert these 40 years. There's a lot of pain and lament and isolation kind of in that. But Moses didn't make it to the promised land. And like that pain to me of like working towards something and never getting to see the fruit of it. I was like, man, I felt that, Moses.
His life's work. Like
Yeah.
that was his life's work.
Yeah.
And he got to the end and had to hand it off. Had to, or was called to hand it off. Was called by God to hand
Yeah.
it off to someone else. But yeah.
Yeah, stayed faithful. He continued to find joy with God in those moments, even though he didn't see the resolution of the pain. He got to still stay in that with God.
And transformed it toward the future. Like even, it might have been personal pain for him, but in that he's able to say, this is my pain, but I'm handing off this promise to the next generation.
Yeah. It's so cool that all of our, like the Bible is just filled with so many stories. We
Bible's a great book.
it's pretty great. It's a bestseller. It's fine. So as we kind of wrap up, and I know a lot of us experience all kinds of different pain, it feels like a lot of times it's magnified, whether physical pain in the cold, emotional pain in the darkness of January, whatever's going on. So I really was wondering, do you know who is a safe person that you can go to when you feel pain?
100%. I mean, I feel fortunate. I have several in my life. I think some are my family. My sister, I have a sister and a brother, and we've been close. We live far apart, but my siblings are people that I can go to. And I'm lucky in this vocation of being a pastor. It's kind of a weird world that we live in, and friendships are interesting things to form. So a lot of my friendships, my closest friendships, are with other pastors, clergy colleagues. And I'm really fortunate to have a couple really close clergy colleagues that know both the unique and interesting ways that being a pastor, there's pain in being a pastor, maybe not personal, but like we carry a lot of weight for other people as well as our own. And so having someone that understands that and can just sort of carry that load together. Yeah.
Absolutely. It is so great to have a vast network you can go to and the different pains you feel. And I say I've got a close friend that feels like a brother to me now. That's a really safe person. My family has expanded. There's a lot of great people here on this staff that I've gotten to grow up with and come back and still be part of the family. So yeah, I think it's just important sometimes to sit back and remember who those people are so we know who to go to in those moments. Well, thank you so much for being with us this
Thank
week,
you.
Evie. This was
Thanks.
so good, all of your wisdom. We're prayerful over your Grow groups this week as you continue these conversations. We look forward to next week as we wrap up this series talking about grief together pastorally. And so we're praying for you. Find your little pieces of joy this week and take care.